In this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, there are two sides of the story. One is the Ukrainian side or the Western side, and another one is the Russian side. And I decided to translate an interview by a prominent Russian person that was broadcasted on the Russian television, where he talks about the goals of Russia in Ukraine. I translated that for you, and I'm going to show it to you just right now. No sanctions, no negotiations, no threats will stop the movements of the Russian armed forces that are carrying out their task of denazifying and demilitarizing Ukraine. This process should be brought to its logical end up to the western Ukrainian city of Lvov. I don't understand when mayors of some Ukrainian cities that have been taken under Russian control in response to a proposal for constructive cooperation offend the Russian state and the Russian people. Let's start denazification with just such characters. Such characters must be arrested and removed by force from their positions. This must be done. Civilian military administrations need to be established. People who were appointed by the Kiev regime are Nazis and should be arrested. This is a normal practice within the framework of denazification. You can't trust the West. The whole system, which is aimed at the destruction of the Russian state, was turned on against us. Therefore, we will conduct negotiations from a position of strength and as victors. Yes, of course, we need to talk to Western leaders who keep calling the Kremlin, and we need to explain to them the existing order of things. There is no need to intimidate Russia with a nuclear war for the simple reason that we are a nuclear power, and any attempt at the Russian army performing its duty in Ukraine, an attempt to hinder its activities, we will respond to this using at the first stage the tactical nuclear weapons that we have. We need to constantly demonstrate our readiness to stop any military provocations on the part of NATO countries, primarily by relying on tactical nuclear weapons. It needs to be done. They are not afraid of anything but one arsenal of Russia, which is a nuclear power. We are simply saying that we have the right to repel aggression, including resorting to a tactical nuclear strike on military facilities that ends the armed forces of that NATO member country that tries to attack the Russian armed forces performing their tasks in Ukraine. Another important point is the attempt to evacuate Zelensky and his government to one of the Western countries. They say Poland, Warsaw, but we don't know where they will take him. That is being done in order to continue to manage large-scale terror that will be directed against the population of Ukraine and against Russia. The West is preparing us for decades of terrorist war. Therefore, it is important to prevent the evacuation of Zelensky, especially if Western units of special operation forces take part in this. It is necessary now to think of any options for closing the airspace over Kiev so that no one can either land a helicopter or evacuate Zelensky. And finally, about the bacchanalia that is happening today in Europe. As in the years of the Great Patriotic War, today United Europe is all against Russia. We see the monstrous things that happened in the Third Reich against the Jews, the Holocaust. Today we take the place of the Jews. The Russians and other people inhabiting the Russian Federation are in exactly the same position. Russian books are removed from Western bookstores in civilized Europe. Then, obviously, they will be burned. This is fascism. Therefore, we need to talk not about the capture of Kiev, Mariupol, but about the liberation of Kiev and Mariupol. Today, the Russian army is carrying out a liberation mission as part of a special operation to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. We remember the words that Stalin uttered: "Our cause is just, the enemy will be defeated, victory will be ours." Today, our President and Commander-in-Chief, Vladimir Putin, performs the task of ensuring the security of the Russian Federation and of the Russians who lived and were subjected to genocide in Ukraine. Our army is carrying out a historic mission, and this mission will be carried out to its logical ends. From the territory of Ukraine, there will never again be any military threat to Russia. It will be a neutral state, or, as the President said today in a conversation with Western leaders, an attempt to continue resistance to destroy peaceful cities and the population of Ukraine will have fatal consequences for the Kiev regime from the point of view of the continued existence of that fascist Ukraine that we are witnessing today.
So as you can hear, the speech by this person is pretty radical, and it is being broadcasted on the Russian, one of the Russian mainstream media outlets. It's pretty telling that they're trying to rile up the support of the Russian public by portraying Ukraine as, or the Ukrainian government as being Nazi, and also by trying to make themselves look like they are under genocide, like what the Jews experienced during World War II, to rile up support from the Russian public. Overall, I think that it seems as though that the Russian government is, or could be, probably gearing up the public to be ready for a long-term war, which is pretty unfortunate overall.
Yeah, he says that any mayor who was appointed, any Ukrainian mayor who was appointed by Kiev is a Nazi and should be arrested immediately. That's quite radical, isn't it? And he also says that the Russian people are like Jews during the Second World War. And then he says that the Russian books are being burned in Europe. But then he also says that Russia gonna use a tactical nuclear power, and that's the only kind of power that the West is afraid of, and that Russia should not be intimidated because it has nuclear power. And then he is surprised why Russian books are burned, and people might feel negative about the Russians outside, abroad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he also, it's funny that he cites Stalin, like out of any person, he cites Stalin, Joseph Stalin, that our cause is just, the enemy will be defeated, victory will be ours. And he thinks that all the media in the West, they talk about the capture of Kiev and Mariupol, but he says we should say that it's not the capture but the liberation of those cities, that they are liberators there. Yeah, which is, do you think that they liberate those cities, or do you think that they capture those cities?
I think they're trying to make the Russian public perceive that the Russian military is going in there as liberators to liberate Ukraine from the Nazi, which is a twist in reality, but that, I guess, is the twist that they need to concoct in order to garner support from the Russian public.
Yeah, and I think they expected Ukrainians to welcome the Russian army with open arms, and they thought that the victory will take 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 days, and then there will be very little response from the West. So they are kind of unprepared for the reaction they have received. And it's day 13 of the war, so it's turning into a long war. And they're kind of trying to persuade the population in Russia that the war is needed. And then they say that, oh, you guys in Russia are like Jews during the Second World War, like you are the victims. and the West is doing everything. The West is against us. He says that the whole system is aimed at the destruction of the Russian state. So why do you think he says that? He wants Russians to think that they are victims and not the Ukrainians who are being attacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is trying to say. And the most concerning part is that he is very confident that Russia can use the nuclear weapon. But he says, don't worry, it's going to be tactical nuclear weapon just on that country of NATO that demonstrated military provocations. That's what he says, and he reiterates that is the only weapon that the West is afraid of. Do you think that we could actually use the nuclear weapon?
I think at this point in time, the way the events have unfolded makes me think that there are many things which one might think it's a logical decision, but given how things have unfolded, maybe logical may not be the way to look at decisions being made by the Russian government. So it's very hard and unpredictable to know what buttons would trigger them to use nuclear weapons.
Yeah, so you think that they are very unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of don't keep their promises either, because they kept telling that those troops at the border of Russia and Ukraine are there for training. They said that many times, but they lied basically, because the troops crossed the border. So they definitely can lie. And I also heard that there are over 50 bunkers in Russia, even with swimming pools and tennis courts and everything deep underground. So some people say that they actually might press the nuclear button and then just hide in those bunkers, because they can live there for the rest of their lives.
So yeah, so we just wanted to make you aware of how the Russian media is portraying this war, and to help you appreciate the distinct contrast that is being portrayed to the Russian population about this war.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you will find this helpful, and we will see you next time when we will translate Russian news for you and discuss them. See you next time.